Does it make any sense that the presidents of 54 African countries are summoned across oceans just to meet one man, the US president? Why doesn't this single man ever come to Africa when he has something to say? Why is it always Africa that must knock, sit, smile, and ask nicely for partnership? Interestingly, this year, 7 powerful African nations finally said, enough. They didn't board the plane. They didn't show up. They boycotted the US-Africa Summit in Washington, not out of spite, but to send a message the world can't ignore. The age of polite handshakes and donor diplomacy is over. Africa isn't asking for inclusion anymore. It's demanding a seat built from its own hardwood. But what really pushed these leaders to walk out? What did the US get wrong, and why could this be the moment that changes everything from trade to global power alignment? In this video, let's dig into the real story behind Africa's boldest diplomatic rebellion in decades, and why the West may never hold the same grip again. Let's get started. Imagine being invited to a grand banquet, only to realize you are not a guest, but part of the menu. That's how many African leaders began to view the long-touted 2025 US-Africa Investment Summit. On the surface, it looked promising. The White House issued polished statements about the so-called renewed partnerships, shared prosperity, and a $50 billion investment package. Multinational corporations were already pitching deals in infrastructure, energy, fintech, and resource extraction. News outlets hyped it as a symbol of America's commitment to leveling up with Africa. But for seasoned African diplomats, it felt like déjà vu wrapped in fresh wrapping paper. Because this wasn't the first summit, it was just the latest in a long line of high-level meetings held in Western capitals where African presidents fly across oceans only to hear the same promises, shake the same hands, and walk away with the same vagueness. Time after time, pledges were made on climate, on trade, on development, and yet, African nations found themselves staring down rising debts, failing infrastructure, and unfulfilled deals. Washington, Paris, and London all looked like partners on paper, but in practice, the relationship stayed unequal. The tension had been building for years, and when the 2025 summit agenda was leaked, it became the final trigger. The schedule prioritized US corporate interests, mostly panels on private equity deals, digital rollouts by American firms, and talks about lithium extraction for electric vehicles. Meanwhile, the topics that African leaders had been pushing, like fair trade terms,